الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد, we will continue our class in going over the book الأجوبة الوداعية على الأسئلة النسائية, the answers and the verdicts by الشيخ Muqbil bin Hadi al-Wadi'i rahimahullah on questions from the women. We're still in the chapter regarding verdicts connected to the matters of menses, pregnancy, and the bleeding after giving birth. تقول السائلة: هل يجوز دخول الحائض المسجد لتلقي العلم? Is it permissible for a woman who is on her menses, to enter into the masjid, to go into the masjid to seek knowledge, to attend classes of knowledge? قال الشيخ رحمه الله: لا أعلم مانعا من هذا. He said, I don't know. The Shaykh rahimahullah, he said, I don't know of anything that prohibits her from doing so. قال والرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول: افعلي ما يفعل الحاج غير ألا تطوفي بالبيت. ويقول أيضا: إن حيضتك ليست في يدك فليس هناك ما يمنع من دخولها المسجد. So the Shaykh rahimahullah, he said, there is no harm. I don't know of anything that prohibits that. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, in the hadith where he said to Aisha radiyallahu anha, do everything that the person who is performing Hajj does, except that you should not go around the house. You should not go around the Kaaba. Of course, going around the Kaaba is a form of prayer, except that it is permissible to speak in it. So it takes very similar rulings to the prayer. Going around the Kaaba takes very similar rulings to the prayer. So anything that is impermissible for the person who is anything that is impermissible during the prayer, except for speaking, is impermissible in general while going around the Kaaba. And from this, the people of knowledge, they said that the women in their menses were allowed to enter into the Masjid al-Haram. However, they're not allowed to go around the Kaaba. So this is an evidence, they say this is an evidence that a woman who is in her menses is allowed to go into the masjid and sit in the masjid. And this is one opinion of the people of knowledge, and this, wallahu alam, is the stronger opinion, that it is permissible for the women who are in their menses to go into the masjid. And there is, of course, the hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam regarding Salat al-Eid. That the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that the women who are on their menses should avoid the place of prayer. Some of the people of knowledge, they said, therefore, it is impermissible for a woman who is on her menses to go into the place of prayer of Eid, Musalla al-Eid, and therefore it is more so for her, that it is impermissible for her to go into the masjid. However, this is something that is, this is one understanding of the people of knowledge. Another understanding is that they said that the women who are in their menses are commanded to stay away from the place of prayer out of worry that she would cause impurity to go on the ground in the place of prayer of Eid. And not that it is impermissible for her to be in the actual place of prayer. Or some of the people of knowledge, they say that what that means is stay away from the prayer. Do not pray. Just come to attend Salat al-Eid, but do not pray. Do not pray the Eid prayer itself. Wallahu alam. Ala kulli hal, likewise, the Shaykh rahimahullah mentioned the statement of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam: "Inna haydataki laysat fi yadik." Your menses is not in your hand. قال فليس هناك ما يمنع من دخولها المسجد. Therefore, there is nothing that prohibits her from entering into the masjid. قال وأما حديث إني لا أحل المسجد لحائض ولا جنب قال فهو حديث ضعيف في سنده جسرة بنت دجاجة أو دجاجة. نعم. وعلى كل حال حديث إني لا أحل المسجد لحائض ولا جنب ضعفه الألباني رحمه الله. So as for the hadith, I do not make the masjid to be permissible for a woman who is in her menses, nor a person who is in the major state of impurity. He said this is a weak hadith. And likewise, Imam Al-Albani rahimahullah, he graded this hadith to be weak. ثم تقول السائلة: هل يجوز للمرأة الحائض أن تمس المصحف? Is it permissible for a woman who is in her menses to touch the مصحف? قال الشيخ رحمه الله لا بأس. He said there's no harm. لعدم الدليل على حرمة ذلك, because there is no proof that that is impermissible. وأما حديث لا يمس القرآن إلا طاهر, as for the hadith that no one should touch the Quran except one who is in purity, فقال الشوكاني المراد لا يمس القرآن إلا طاهر أي مؤمن, بدليل أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن المؤمن لا ينجس, وأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم نهى أن يسافر بالقرآن إلى أرض العدو. So as for the hadith that no one should touch the Quran except one who is pure, Shawkani rahimahullah, he said what is meant by that is that except a believer, because the believer does not become impure. And likewise the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he forbade from taking the Quran to the lands of the enemies. So ala kulli hal, this is a matter of also disagreement between the people of knowledge. Is a woman who is in her menses allowed to touch the Quran, or is she not? The stronger opinion and the safer opinion is that she should not. Yani there's a difference between the previous question, which is the woman who is in her menses entering into the masjid. Yani usually there is a reason for her to enter into the masjid, and this reason cannot be, she does not have the ability to remove that specific reason. So she cannot remove, or to remove that state of her state of menses, she's not able to remove it. So for that, the people of knowledge, they say that the stronger, or some of the people of knowledge, they say the stronger opinion is that she is allowed to enter into the masjid. A woman who is in her menses is allowed to enter into the masjid, and this is a stronger opinion. If she is able to avoid it, for example, she needs to attend a class and she attends it, on nowadays, alhamdulillah, we have people can listen in to classes from their home, using either things like Mixler or YouTube or other social media, forms of social media. People nowadays are able to attend and benefit from the classes through this way. So if the woman is able to attend the class who is in her menses, a woman who is in her menses is able to attend the class without going into the masjid, that is better. However, we can't say that it is impermissible, because there is no proof that it is impermissible for a woman who is in her menses to enter into the masjid. Whereas touching a mushaf, touching the mushaf for a woman who is in her menses, she is able to touch the mushaf without touching the mushaf. What that means is through a barrier. She can put on gloves and touch the mushaf. So that is her need to touch the mushaf is can be accommodated without her actually touching the mushaf. So for example, she wants to recite Quran. Of course, we should know that reciting Quran is permissible for the woman who is in her menses. She is allowed to recite the Quran. The people of knowledge, they say she's allowed to recite the Quran from her memorization. She's allowed to recite the Quran from, say, a mobile app or something like that. Of course, with the conditions that she knows that the app doesn't have any errors and things of that nature. So if it is a trustworthy app, or likewise a trustworthy website, then she can recite the Quran by looking at that without touching the mushaf. And if she needs to touch the mushaf, then she can put on gloves and touch the mushaf to either move it, for example, move it from one place to another inside the house. If she's cleaning the house and she needs to move the mushaf, that is easy. She can do so with a napkin, with gloves. If she wants to recite the Quran from the mushaf, she can put on gloves and recite the Quran. Inshallah, that is easy and easily accommodated. Whereas entering into the masjid, that is not easy to, if she needs to enter into the masjid, for example, she's in a class and that class is there's no broadcast, there's no live broadcast, it's not recorded, she's going to miss it. So in that case, that need is not lifted. And also the evidence of the prohibitivity of touching the Mus'haf is strong because of the statement of the Messenger ﷺ that he said, no one should touch the Mus'haf except one who is pure. Some of the people of knowledge, they say this means one must be upon complete and full purity. Now, in regards to one who is in the major state of impurity, one who is in the state of janaba, then the correct opinion in regards to that is that he is not allowed to recite the Quran. He or she is not allowed to recite the Quran. He or she is not allowed to sit in the masjid. One can only pass through the masjid and not sit in the masjid. And he or she is not allowed to touch the Mus'haf. And there is a difference, a huge difference between the menses and the major state of impurity. The major state of impurity, as Shaykh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad, hafidhahullah, he mentioned in one of his answering some questions, he said a person who is in the major state of impurity within minutes can remove and lift that state of impurity, either by taking a bath, and if he can't find water, then performing dry ablution, and he lifts off that state of impurity. Whereas a woman who is in her menses, then of course she can't remove it until she finishes her menses and she takes a bath. Naam. Wallahu ta'ala ala wa alam. Ala kulli hal. We will stop here and we'll continue in the next class if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een.